Greetings. The State Public Charter School Authority's Assessment and Accountability Team has published a series of 3 virtual training videos for charter school staff. The first is an assessment and accountability orientation. The second is an overview of the annual NSPF school star ratings. And the third relates to the SPCSA academic performance framework. This presentation is the first of the series, in which we'll be providing an orientation to assessment and accountability in the United States, Nevada, and with the SPCSA. Let us first introduce ourselves. We are the data and reporting team for the SPCSA and typically refer to ourselves as the assessment and accountability team. Our mission is stated in the first bullet. Essentially, we help schools meet deadlines and submit accurate data. Here we provide an overview of the presentation. On the left are the intended outcomes. By the end of this presentation, we hope that you will have enhanced your knowledge of assessment and accountability in the United States and Nevada. We also want you to gain an understanding of assessment and accountability timelines in Nevada. Finally, we want you to know where to find and how to use specific tools related to these tasks. Those outcomes align with the agenda. The first section of the presentation will offer an overview of assessment and accountability in the U.S. and Nevada, while the second portion will review the Nevada calendar related to these tasks. The third will discuss tools used in assessment and accountability tasks that our schools will be involved with. The final section will go over student privacy and communication protocols. This slide provides an overview of assessment and accountability in the United States. These topics are driven by the Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA, which is the main federal K-12 education law in the U.S. Generally, this law holds schools accountable for how students learn and achieve. Under ESSA, each state is required to submit a detailed plan to the U.S. Department of Education that addresses various academic items. The ones related to assessment and accountability are underlined here, including annual testing, school accountability, and state and local report cards. For example, Nevada's plan, for which there is a link at the bottom of the slide, outlines the assessments Nevada is using, how the Nevada school rating system works, and how other data are reported on the Nevada report card. Now that we have discussed requirements at the federal level, let's move to Nevada-specific topics. Beyond ESSA, state law and regulations found in NRS and NAC outline assessment and accountability requirements in Nevada. The important items in Nevada are the required statewide assessments such as Smarter Balanced, also known as SBAC, Science, ACT, WIDA, and MAP. There's the Nevada School Performance Framework, or the NSPF, which is the annual school star ratings. The Nevada Report Card, which is an annual collection and reporting of school data. EdFacts, which are federal data collections coordinated by the NDE. Validation Day, each October 1st, where schools validate their enrollment counts, which are then used for various purposes. And for SPCSA schools, the SPCSA performance frameworks, which include the academic, organizational, and financial frameworks. Many items here involve data collections and/or data validations. The SPCSA works closely with schools on these tasks to make sure deadlines are met and submitted data are accurate. On the next few slides, we will briefly discuss each of the topics listed. The first item is assessments. To comply with ESSA and state law, Nevada requires various assessments, which are listed in the table here. First are the Smarter Balanced assessments, also known as SBAC. These are given in grades 3 through 8 in the math and ELA subject areas. All students eligible are required to assess. The Nevada Alternate Assessment, or NA, is provided to students that cannot assess with Smarter. These are students with the most significant cognitive and/or developmental challenges. Math and ELA content areas are given in grades 3 through 8, while science is given in grades 5, 8, and 11. The Nevada Science Assessments are given to all students in grades 5, 8, and high school. In high school, the assessment can be given in grades 9 or 10, which is a choice that can be made at the school level. Students must assess by the end of 10th grade. The ACT is Nevada's ELA and math assessment for 11th grade. Note that participation in the ACT is a graduation requirement. MAP reading is part of Nevada's Read by Grade 3 law, and it is given to all kindergarten through 3rd graders. Regance assessments are developmental screens given to pre-kindergartners and kindergartners. The one for kindergarten is the kindergarten entry assessment. WIDA is the English proficiency assessment given to English learners, while the WIDA Alt is the version given to ELs with the most significant cognitive and/or developmental disabilities who cannot assess with the WIDA. Finally, the National Assessment on Educational Progress, or NAEP, is given in grades 4, 8, and 12. Schools are selected annually and notified by the NDE. Continuing with some more information on the statewide assessments, Nevada contracts with various assessment vendors such as the Data Recognition Corporation, WIDA, and ACT. Sometimes schools must contract directly with a vendor, like NWEA for MAP. School districts and charter schools are responsible for assessing students and validating student demographics during the testing windows. The NDE provides annual assessment and test security training. The SPCSA provides that information and reminders to schools. The next topic is the Nevada School Performance Framework, or the NSPF. These are the annual school star ratings that are required under ESSA. Under the NSPF, each public school is issued an annual score and star rating based on that school's performance in various measures over the prior year. Those measures are shown in the tables for each of the elementary, middle, and high school rating systems. We will not go into detail since we provided a separate training presentation on the NSPF. Beyond school ratings, ESSA also requires states to use their rating systems to identify schools that need additional supports, such as underperforming schools or schools with underperforming student groups. These identifications may result in consequences like star rating penalties or the need to create improvement plans. The links at the bottom of the slide can be used to find more information on the NSPF. The next item is the Nevada Report Card. The Nevada Report Card is distinct and separate from the NSPF star ratings. For the report card, which is required under ESSA and state law, the NDE collects and reports on various data from LEAs, or school districts, and charter schools. These data include, but are not limited to, items such as demographics, average daily attendance, dropout rates, student-teacher ratios, and fiscal information. There's an annual report card data collection by the SPCSA from about April to June of every year. The SPCSA works closely with schools to make sure this task is completed accurately and on time. The SPCSA provides the data to the NDE, who publishes the annual Nevada Report Card on the Nevada Accountability Portal. A screenshot showing an example of report card data is shown, and a link to the website is provided. The next item is EdFacts, which is a U.S. Department of Education initiative that collects and analyzes school data. The NDE collects data for EdFacts reporting. Typically, the SPCSA coordinates submissions from SPCSA schools and then provides the data to the NDE. The next important assessment and accountability item is Validation Day. This happens on October 1 of each year, where the NDE performs an official student enrollment count. These official student counts and enrollment rates are used by the NDE and the SPCSA for reporting certain funding like Title I and other items. For this task, charter schools are responsible for validating their student data during the Validation Day window, which is typically mid-September to mid-October. The SPCSA provides guidance during this process. Finally, the last important item related to assessment and accountability in Nevada is specific to charter schools. The SPCSA provides State law requires the SPCSA to maintain academic, financial, and organizational performance frameworks for SPCSA schools. Our team maintains the academic framework, which is similar to the NSPF star rating system in that it contains measures and indicators where schools can earn points. The graphic showing an overview of the academic framework is displayed on the slide. We will not go into detail since we provided a separate training presentation on the academic performance framework. For more information on the financial or organizational frameworks, please follow the link at the bottom of the slide. Of note, these frameworks provide one data point amongst many others that may be used by the SPCSA board or authority in authorizing decisions such as charter renewals and amendments. At this point, we have outlined assessment and accountability in the US and Nevada. Next, we will review the assessment and accountability calendars for Nevada. First, we will discuss the Nevada assessment calendar. The NDE is responsible for publishing the annual assessment calendar. Here we are displaying the most recently available calendar, that for the 20-21 school year. Starting at the top, Smarter Balanced and Science occur within the same time frame, mid-February to mid-May. Most schools give these assessments in April and May. The ACT is usually late in February or early March. Those administrations can be paper pencil on a specific day or online during a short window. Brigance for pre-K happens in the fall and spring, while the kindergarten Brigance occurs just before school starts or within 45 instructional days of the start of the school year. Math happens a few times during the year, and this is dependent upon the grade level. Typically, it's administered in the fall, winter, and spring. GNA or NAA is administered during the same time frame as Smarter and Science, while WIDA has the earliest assessment window, starting in early to mid-January and going until late February. Next up is the Nevada Accountability Calendar. We are showing the most recently available calendar. On the next few slides, we'll run through the calendar and highlight some of the more important tasks. The calendar that NDE publishes usually starts around October, as the main reporting, such as NSPF star ratings and the Nevada report card, happen at the end of the calendar in September. Starting in October, one of the big items is the 4-year graduation rate validation, applicable to high schools with a graduating class. November and December are relatively light, while in January, WIDA testing begins. In February, other testing starts, such as Smarter, Science, and NA. 5-year graduation rates are validated as well during February, and ACT testing typically happens at the end of February. In March, testing continues, and Nevada report card data collections begin. In March and April, validation of WIDA data typically occurs. In May, testing for Smarter, Science, and NA end, and schools validate demographics for their students who took the assessments. In June, NSPF data collections begin, such as chronic absenteeism, and Nevada report card data collections continue. In July, ACT validation occurs, and the NSPF and Nevada report card data collections finish up. At the end of July, final assessment results files that will be used for the NSPF and reporting are posted by the NDE, which the SPCSA shares with schools. In August, preliminary NSPF star ratings are provided by the NDE, and in September, official ratings are published online, along with Nevada report card data.
Now that we have reviewed the assessment and accountability calendars for Nevada, let's discuss some of the tools encountered while completing assessment and accountability tasks. The first type of tool we will discuss are the assessment management and training websites. The DRC Insight website is used to manage and administer Smarter Balanced, Science, and NA assessments. WIDA AMS uses the same login as DRC Insight, but it is housed within a different section of the website. This site is used to manage and administer WIDA assessments. The WIDA Training Portal, also known as the WIDA Secure Portal, is a separate website that provides the required trainings needed to administer WIDA. SPCSA staff manages accounts on these websites, and please contact our team if school staff need access. The next items we will discuss are the NDE applications. The first is the Nevada Accountability Portal. This is the one-stop shop for educational data such as report card data and NSPF star ratings. The Bighorn portal is NDE's secure file transfer portal. This is how schools and the SPCSA exchange and submit data that contains student information that must be protected under FERPA, the Federal Student Education Data Privacy Law. Bighorn is also an access point to other tools, such as the next one listed, the Data Validation Sign and Lock, or DVSL tool. The DVSL tool is used to validate certain data like assessments, validation day, and graduation rates. Finally, the last important NDE tool is Freshdesk, a website used to submit support tickets to the NDE for certain items like Infinite Campus or Bighorn issues, enrollment questions, or other data help. At the Freshdesk website, school staff can create their own accounts. This slide displays a few more details on Bighorn. Each school has an accountability and assessment folder is used quite often. Data files that need to be transferred to the SPCSA can be dragged and dropped here, and the SPCSA can transfer files similarly to schools, such as assessment result files. As far as the DVSL tool outlined 2 slides back, that is accessed through Bighorn via the Applications menu as shown here. Here's a screenshot of Freshdesk, the tool used to submit tickets to the NDE. Once logged in, a ticket can be created under various categories such as Bighorn, IC, certain programs like SPED, etc. The SPCSA uses Epicenter to collect many items from schools. Our team uses Epicenter to collect various non-data items related to assessment and accountability, such as testing calendars, test security plans, and various certifications stating a school has complied with certain assessment and accountability requirements and tasks. Finally, another useful tool is the Infinite Campus community, which contains detailed documentation and help on anything IC. It can also be used to submit support tickets to IC. This is a good place to go with very specific IC issues or questions. The last topics on the agenda today are student privacy and communication protocols. As to student privacy, this touches upon FERPA. FERPA is the Federal Educational Data Privacy Law. It is very important to SPCSA and the NDE. During the year, we all frequently work with student-level data that contains personally identifiable information, such as student IDs, names, and other information such as EL status. This information must be protected under FERPA. Therefore, please never email us with student-level information, whether that be data files or an email with a student name, because that may result in the accidental disclosure of PII, since email is not very secure. Please use Bighorn to transfer data files. If you have a specific student that needs to be discussed, please call us. When it comes to communication between schools, the SPCSA and the NDE, here are a few tips. The NDE assessment and accountability teams prefer SPCSA schools contact SPCSA staff with questions. They also prefer that the SPCSA passes along communications from the NDE to the schools. So please contact the SPCSA and not the NDE with questions. Oftentimes, we can answer your question or resolve your issue faster than the NDE, who will usually refer schools to us anyway. If we don't know the answer, we will work with the NDE to find out. This guidance does not apply if you're submitting a support ticket to Fresh Desk for certain issues. And as always, if unsure, feel free to get in touch with us with our team at SPCSA. Finally, beyond the school SPCSA NDE interactions, a few more points on how we interact with schools. We showed this mission statement at the beginning of the presentation, that we provide high quality customer service to ensure schools meet their deadlines and also submit accurate data. In our service, we always try to be proactive, communicative, honest, friendly, and respectful. That being said, we hope schools will be comfortable coming to us with questions and issues. In line with goal of being proactive and communicative, we frequently hold general technical assistance or TA calls to provide guidance and help on assessment and accountability tasks. We also provide trainings or TA calls on specific topics like the NSPF or report card. Additionally, we're always emailing, texting, and or calling school staff when a deadline is approaching or if we have questions about a submission. And finally, frequently send along communications of interest, like links to trainings or memos, either via email or the SPCSA's weekly Wednesday email blast. If more information or training is needed on a specific topic, please let us know, and we can incorporate that into our training TA calls. Finally, please keep your assessment and accountability staff contact information updated in Epicenter. Those contacts feed our email list. So if one is not in Epicenter as an assessment and accountability contact, they will likely not receive our communications. As we move toward the end of this training, we would like to revisit the intended outcomes. We hope that you've enhanced your knowledge of assessment and accountability in the US and Nevada and gained an understanding of those timelines in Nevada. Additionally, you should know where to find and how to use specific tools that may be used in these tasks. That brings us to the end of our presentation. We hope you found this training video to be helpful and useful for future reference. Thank you for attending. The contact information for the SPCSA Accountability and Assessment Team is shown here as of August 2021. If there are any additional questions.